The Zone.
Alan Cross.
Well,
I was thinking about starting on something really personal, so that's what I'm going to do. I read your blog today, and interestingly enough, you wrote a very touching piece on your blog about your grandfather that just recently passed away, and the effect that he had on your life in this musical career.
yeah, he was 102 and a half years old. He had been in ill health for, a long, long time. And I heard about, they stopped feeding him last Thursday, and they gave him, he was unable to take any nourishment. So they said he could last 2 weeks that way. And just as I was getting out of the car to check in at the airport in Toronto, my sister called and said he had passed away. And although that sounds tremendously sad, the dude was 102 and a half years old. He had been widowed for almost 20 years, and he was ready to go. My uncle was with him the other day, and the last words that apparently he was able to say was mother, which is what he called my grandmother, and home. So he was ready to go, and so I have to fly out Monday for the funeral. But it'll be a tremendous celebration of this man's life. I mean, the dude was born before this Titanic sank. So let's think about that. Better yet, he was born 6 years before the first commercial radio station went on the air.
Wow.
And there was a very important thing that happened on April the 6th, Saturday, April the 6th, 1968, just after 9 o'clock in the morning. That was my 6th birthday. And I received a present from my grandparents, and in the box was a Lloyd's transistor radio. And no one knows why my grandparents thought it necessary for a 6-year-old to have his own radio, but they gave me one. And I'm growing up in this small town just north of Winnipeg, a million miles from nowhere. And my world was my house, my backyard, my friend's backyard, and my school. That was it. But this radio opened up the entire world to me. And all these voices and this news and this information and all this other stuff coming from somewhere. And that led to a fascination with radio and broadcasting, and then that led to a fascination with music and everything else that came afterwards. And I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if it had not been for my grandfather giving me and my grandmother giving me that transistor radio for my 6th birthday. So, and I was very happy that before he had a series of strokes which poked all kinds of holes in his senses and his memories and his body. And I was very happy to be able to tell him before he was unable to understand that I'm doing what I'm doing because of him and Grandma.
Wow. The question begs to be asked, and do you still have that transistor radio?
No, I lost it. I lost it because I beat the hell
So you
out of it.
had it?
I beat the crap out of it.
Wow.
I mean, I took that thing with me everywhere when I was a kid. But last year I managed to find an exact replica on eBay, and I bought it. So that radio is sitting on my desk at home as a reminder of where it all became possible.
Wow.
So my question is, if I give you my contact info, can I get your job when you retire?
Okay. Dude, I work in broadcasting. I won't be allowed to retire. You don't seem to understand. There is no pension plan in what I do.
Yeah.
And some days, I would just give it to you. But not just yet, because I still got a mortgage, and My wife likes to travel, and I have to kind of, and she's also a budding novelist, so she wants to quit her job so she can be a chick lit writer. But, but to her credit, she has just signed a deal, and she's working on it right now, with a company called, publishing house called Writers Coffee House out of Australia. And if you know anything about publishing, that's the same company that signed E.L. James and 50 Shades of Grey. So, oh, please, God, let lightning strike twice. Please, God.
Think of all the traveling you can do if she gets a hit.
Oh, yes. But, she's, sometimes I have to go downstairs, and sometimes I have to cook supper because she's busy writing. So she'll come downstairs with a big smile on her face and go, why? I had a great day. I wrote 4 sex scenes. Really? Okay, so this is true. So I go up. I shouldn't have done this. Oh. I went up after supper and I looked at her internet history on her computer, and there's a search string for autofellatio.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it, Alan? Oh, no, I guess not. Never mind. Do you remember the very first time you heard a song and you fell in love with that song? What was the first song you fell in love with?
Boy Named Sue by Johnny Cash.
Wow.
I think I was 6 or 7 years old, and how do you do? My name is Sue. Now you gonna die. I thought, wow, that's pretty intense. I want that record. And much to my mother's dismay, my crazy Aunt Olga bought the record, Johnny Cash Live at San Quentin, for me for, I think, my 7th birthday. And I played that thing over and over and over again, and yeah, so that was it. It was Boy Named Sue from Johnny Cash.
No wonder you ended up doing what you're doing. At 7, you got a record recorded in prison.
I know!
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's your favorite artist or band to see live, and what's your favorite venue?
Okay, I will never pass. I keep coming back to Peter Gabriel, but he's kind of old and fat now, so. But in his prime, he was fantastic. I will always go see a U2 show. I will always go see a Nine Inch Nails show. I will always go see a Pixies show. Of contemporary bands, I will go see anything that Jack White does. And as for any new bands, there is a band out of LA called Fidlar, F-I-D-L-A-R. If I would check them out. They have a song called Cheap Beer. And they're a hardcore punk band, and I tell you, if you're not singing along to Cheap Beer by the end of the second chorus, there's something wrong with you. Really.
So what's the name of that band? Fiddler?
F-I-D-L-A-R.
This is the one time you're allowed to bring your phones out. Put that in your iPhone. Remember. One more question there, Paul?
Sure.
Oh, favorite venue, yeah.
Favorite venue. It depends on the band that I'm seeing, but I enjoyed CBGB while I was around simply because it was CBGB. There's a venue in Toronto called the Mod Club. Holds about 450 people, but they routinely get 700 in there. But it's perfectly proportioned, and they spent way too much money on the sound system. And I remember seeing Muse there. First of all, Muse creates more noise for 3 guys than anybody else on the planet. And to see them in a small club was just mind-blowing. Matt Bellamy is not of this world. He is an alien. And what a fantastic group.
Are you a crazy collector? Do you have tons of vinyl?
What do you think?
Well, I feel like you are. I'm asking.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I have about 10,000 pieces of vinyl in the basement. And I got rid of a whole bunch before because I had a lot of crappy stuff.
Do you regret getting rid of that?
No, because the crap that I have was crap.
Okay.
Because I would get everything, and a lot of it was garbage. But I'll tell you what happened. I used to work for a radio station called The Edge, CFNY. And we had the radio station was centered in a strip mall in Brampton, Ontario. And in 1995, the station was moving into downtown Toronto. And that meant that they were going to get rid of everything that they possibly could without having to make the move. 1995, it was like, vinyl? Bah, that's done. We're going digital, man. It's all CDs. It's all going to be online. It's all going to be cool. So what are you going to do with all the records? Well, we're just going to throw them out. No, you're not. So I backed up a Ryder truck. True. Backed up a Ryder truck, took home as much shelving and as many records as I possibly could from the radio station library, and they are safe and sound in my basement. All the radio station play copies that are, hideously rare are in my basement. And I have a friend who used to work at the radio station, who is now the senior VP of catalog and sports marketing at Universal Music. And we have actually written into each other's wills, swear to God, whoever goes first gets the other guy's record collection. And my wife is praying to God that I go first. Because Ivor's record collection is even stupider than mine.
From what I understand, there's a theory that you believe in, that the cycle of rock and roll is dictated by who is tending the White House.
That's true. Look at who is in the White House and who is at number 10 Downing Street. You find that we tend to get more interesting music when a Republican or a conservative is in charge. And the reason is that you have young people rebelling against a conservative status quo. And that tends to result in more interesting, more angry music.
Richard Nixon is a good example.
Yeah, look at the 60s, look at the Reagan era, look at British music from November 1979, or May of 1979 through to May of 1990 when Margaret Thatcher was in charge.
Right.
A lot of really, really interesting, angry music, and that's because you end up with a conservative, small c, capital C in the UK in charge. And look at what happened when we got the whole, think about it in terms of more recent times, when did the entire current crop of indie rock emerge? After George Bush was elected. So right now we have a Democratic president in the White House. It's, music's okay, but if we get another Republican there, it could change.
Out of all the people you've managed to be introduced to, has there been one that stands out in your head as being the most impactful to you? Obviously the one you look forward to the most.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I get a chance to talk to Bono, it's interesting because he's got that weird sort of charisma where whenever you talk to him, he makes you feel and believe that you're the only person in the world that matters. Because he stares you in the eye, he engages you, he gives you 100% attention. It's quite an amazing thing. The other person who does that is David Bowie. I haven't had a chance to talk to Bowie for a long time, but he has so much. I mean, you hear stories about Bowie being the biggest thing in the world and all the rest of it and being very influential, but unless you're in the room with him, you don't understand exactly the kind of charisma the man has. I was in a room full of a crowded room full of people, and he walked in, and I had my back to the door, but I could feel him come in. And I know that sounds like crap, but it's true. And then when I had a chance to talk to him, we were actually talking about a lawsuit that he was engaged in with an old manager named Tony DeFries, and I peripherally knew some people involved on the other side of the lawsuit. And he engaged me completely to the point where I completely zoned out. I mean, I'm looking at him, different colored eyes, got the hair, teeth at an angle, and that's Ziggy Stardust. That's Aladdin saying, "Thin white dude, talk to me." Yeah. So those are the two that I will always remember. I'll tell you another kind of cool story too, and it has to do with it was an interview moment. A couple of years ago, I got a last-second opportunity to fly down to Burbank to talk to them Crooked Vultures. So the airport in Burbank's kind of weird in that it's got a small parking lot, and it's sort of like almost downtown Burbank, or in this area that's close to being downtown Burbank. And I could literally walk from the airport to Josh Homme's studios, which is called Pink Duck. Pink Duck Studios are on the main drag, and it looks like an old convenience store on the corner. And then behind it is an alley, and on the other side of the alley is just like a run-of-the-mill residential area. So I drag my suitcase around, and there's a little parking lot, and there's Josh's big, stupid Chrysler Hemi station wagon that he's got tricked out with spinners and all the rest of it. And there's just a picnic table. And there's Josh Homme, and there's Dave Grohl, and there's John Paul Jones sitting, having beers and smoking cigarettes, just at a picnic table. I'm here for the interview. Oh, great. So go to the control room and get yourself all set up. So I go to the control room, and I'm getting my recording gear set up, and John Paul Jones walks in. Hi. Hi. Picks up a bass, and he, on a stand, he thunks something vaguely Zeppelin-like, and puts it down, and begins to walk out. And he turns around and he says, you okay? Yeah, John, thanks. Can I get you anything? I think I'm fine. A cup of tea? Yeah, John, a cup of tea would be milk or lemon? Milk would be fine. Okay. And he walks out. I just sent the bass player of Led Zeppelin to get me a cup of tea. And then they come into the studio, and there's Josh on the studio chair, John on a little stool like this, and I'm sitting on a sectional, and Dave Grohl's the last guy to come in, and he dives across the room, lands face down on the sectional, and pretends to fall asleep and begins snoring loudly. So I'm sitting there with my microphone, Josh, John Paul Jones, Dave. And I'm looking around going, I'm surrounded by 200 million albums. Am I intimidated here? Just a bit. But then again, that guy got me some tea.
What was the very first concert you ever saw?
Kiss. Winnipeg Arena, July 17th, 1977. Opening act was Cheap Trick, and it was the Love Gun Tour, where Paul Stanley famously came on stage and sang a love song to his dick.
Man, rock and roll just isn't the same, is it?
It's not the same,
yeah.
not the same. But my dad dropped me and my friend Brad off, and my first concert was Kiss, with the flames and the depth and the fire and the explosions and the blood, and like, this is rock and roll, and everything pretty much was downhill after that for a number of years.
did that moment, seeing that rock and roll show and the flames and the blood and just this rock and roll excess, was that just swinging the door wide open for you?
I could not believe it. I mean, I was, and, I bought the T-shirt, I bought the pennant, I bought the program, I bought the poster, and it was like, I went to see Kiss, and it was the greatest thing ever. Now, years later, I end up with an association with Gene Simmons, and I tell him the story, and he goes, "How much do you think you purchased from me?"
And he's dead serious.
Oh, he's dead serious.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you a story about Gene Simmons. You know when you play Monopoly, you got the old guy with the mustache, and he's holding a bag of money, right? And what is that bag? It's just like a sack with a dollar bill on it. Gene Simmons is playing Monopoly one night, and he notices, that image is shown a lot. I wonder if anybody owns it. He does a trademark and copyright search and finds out that no one owns the rights to the image of a sack with a dollar bill on it, signifying a bag full of money. He purchases it, and now anybody who wants to use that has to pay Gene Simmons money. True story.
Now, is he an ass or is he just brilliant?
I think it's 50-50.
Yeah, a perfect combination, a perfect Gene Simmons storm.
And he has no trouble with that.
Right.
He says, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm here to make money. You know that there are more than 5,000 branded Kiss items? My favorite Kiss items are Kiss condoms. And there is also Kiss condoms. Kiss condoms and Kiss coffins. And Gene is quick to tell you, and I'm not making this up, I swear to God, he says, yes, we get you coming and going.
You want to do a little rapid fire?
Sure, go.
You ready?
Yes.
And it's fast.
Go.
It's fast rapid fire. Best band ever?
Ramones.
Ramones?
Yep.
Wow. Best album ever?
Personally, this is embarrassing, but the record that I listened to the most in my life is called Desolation Boulevard by a glam band called The Sweet. Sorry.
There you go.
Guilty pleasure, sorry.
Best vocalist ever.
Peter Gabriel.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Who wins in a fight, Trent Reznor or 50 Cent?
50 cents.
I could have sworn you were going to say Trent.
No.
Oh.
Trent's all buffed up right now.
He's
but,
a big boy.
But they couldn't put down Fitty with 6 bullets.
Yeah. Hold on.
And
I love how you said fitty.
9. And listen, the man has all the vitamin water he can drink.
Yeah, right. Wow. What was that deal?
He was a partner in the vitamin water thing, and I think he sold his share for about $50 million.
Yeah, he's doing okay. Yeah. Best guitar player ever.
Ever?
Ever. It's tough.
My favorite is Alex Lifeson.
Best drummer ever.
Neil Peart.
Of course. Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Beatles. Paul McCartney over John Lennon, too.
Wow. I was just telling my co-host Jason when we were walking up here from our cars, I've just fell in love all over again with the Let It Be record.
Yeah,
and Paul McCartney blows me away on that album.
I got to talk to him once, and
Really?
it was just after he got married to Heather. So here was my question at a press conference with Paul McCartney. Paul, yes, congratulations on your recent wedding to Heather. Well, thank you very much. At the reception, did you have a DJ or a band? And he goes, a band. I said, do you think that they were intimidated? No, why?
Wow. Where the hell did you come up with that question?
Everybody was going to ask a Beatles question or,
Right.
or something, and I just like, if you're the wedding band at Paul McCartney's wedding, what's going through your head?
Yeah, really.
What are you going to play?
All right, best bass player ever.
People want me to say Flea, but my favorite bass player is Lemmy.
Lemmy, yeah. Have you seen the Lemmy doc?
Yes.
What a character.
Anybody who can sing with his head straight, yeah.
Best frontman ever.
It's Jagger.
Really?
I think it's Jagger, although I would put, at his prime, Scott Weiland was good. Oh, man, he was good. I remember seeing him in a Stone Temple Pilots club show, and the amount of attention this man could attract was frightening. So, yeah, Weiland.
I'm gonna touch on that Scott Weiland thing in just a sec once we finish this rapid fire. Who wins in a fight, a grizzly bear or Steven Seagal?
It's a grizzly bear. I was kicked off a plane once by Steven Seagal. We were flying.
Of course you were, Alan.
We were flying back from a small Caribbean island, and we were scheduled to go on this 19-seater plane over to St. Martin. And we were told once we got to the gate that we would have to take the next flight because Steven Seagal's entourage had commandeered the entire plane that we were supposed to be on. So I'm sitting in the departure lounge, and there he is, and he's fat. I mean, not just roly-poly, he's fat. And his mousy little wife and his entourage, like, if I could have introduced a grizzly bear into that departure lounge, I would have.
All right. Fantastic. Stephen Harper or Justin Trudeau?
Stephen Harper, because I don't think Justin Trudeau is anything more than a pretty face at this point.
Hey.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, he's got nice hair.
He does have nice hair.
Yeah.
Last question in rapid fire. What is the greatest radio station in the whole wide known universe, Alan Cross?
It is The Zone.
You are correct. He wins. He wins.
And, that is not just sucking up. I deal with a lot of radio stations across the country, and there are very few radio stations, if any, that approach music with the enthusiasm and the passion that The Zone does. The Zone has always been a great friend to me and everything that I want to do. And the audience, like, you guys are here on a Friday night. I think that says a lot about Zoners and the passion that you have for music and everything that goes along with it. You're not satisfied with just listening to something and having it go through in one ear and out the other. You're committed. And there's nothing more satisfying to me than to spend an evening in a room full of committed music fans.
Awesome. That's you guys, owners. Wicked.
Again, I thank you for your attention. I'm extremely flattered that you would come out and see me on a Friday night. Thank you to the guys at the Zone. It was a tremendous pleasure. I'd love to be able to do this again. And I hope you got something out of this. And please, God, let it be possible for you to win some bar bets with this information. All right? Thank you again.
The Zone at 91.3 Modern